relationship that I think God wants us to work in.
Yeah, Carey, I love that so much. Is just that, like, that unity, that sisterhood, and that brotherhood. And I think a lot of times when we think about American history, we don't see that as much. But there's so many untold stories of unshakable faith that are throughout our American history. And I so enjoyed going through your book. It was a history lesson for me where I learned so much things that I didn't even know about that happened. So can you kind of start to unpack for us? During the colonial times, there was this whole thing of slave, and there's slave owners, all these things. But God was moving in the midst of it. Can you share a little bit about what was going on during that time and some of the great heroes that emerged out of the faith from it?
When we think about the colonial times, there's so many things that are happening. And, we've got the American Revolution is coming up, the Enlightenment, which is bringing different ideas of what freedom is and justice and liberty. And then we've got the first and second Great Awakenings. And these are time periods of where the gospel is being kind of brought to its more apostolic period and wanting to return the Christian gospel back to its kind of the apostolic times where people are, those barriers are being broken down even more. And so more people being brought into the church. It's more of an evangelical faith. And so we get the Baptist and Methodist faiths and Presbyterians that are coming into the fore. And so a lot of things are changing, and all of them are contributing to changes on issues of race and class. And so slavery is changing, and people are starting to question it really for the first time. And so a person like Phyllis Wheatley, who comes to America, as an 8-year-old, and imagine being, going through the Middle Passage as an 8-year-old, separated away from your parents. We don't know anything about her parents. Her first name is the slave ship she came on, and Wheatley is the name of the family that brought her here, not adopted her, but enslaved her. And yet this is a woman who learns the language quickly, who becomes a Christian, and most of her poetry is about her Christian faith when you think about it. And she learns how to, adjust, to adapt, but also to forgive, to love. And she starts to question people about, if you see me as this, I am your equal. And I think that has an impact on the people that are enslaving her, because eventually they free her, but they're also supporters of her. They're the people that she learns the English language from. They're the people that she's learning a lot of things from. And there's a relationship there that's developing that goes beyond the traditional boundaries of slavery and freedom. It goes into, I would argue, more like love, more like a brotherhood. And so people like Phyllis Wheatley or Cyrus Buster, who's enslaved for 37 years, and he's promised his freedom, but he has to wait over 10 years for it. And yet he goes back to his community and says, be prepared for freedom, but also forgive, also understand. So all of these ways are ways that we're showing that people are building brotherhoods of understanding, but also understanding the situation that they're in and being prepared for what's to come. And I think that as Christians in particular, we have to be prepared for our blessings too. And sometimes blessings can come, but we're not prepared for them to take advantage of them. And that's a shame. Sometimes God is opening doors for us and we're not prepared for us, and that's a shame. Sometimes God is telling us to break down that wall and we're not prepared for it, and that's a shame.